All right, everyone. Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us for today's BeWell education session. This is Mindful Eating. And we've got facilitator Jordan Setzer here with us today. She is a dietetic intern with the Department of Nutrition and Family Sciences here at UCA. So thank you, Jordan, for being here and for leading the session. And thank you to Dr. Alicia Landry, the program director of that area, for all that she does to help coordinate these programs. We appreciate your partnership so much. BeWell participants, you can earn 5 lifestyle rewards for today's session. Stick around until the end and I'll share the process for claiming your points on that. Jordan will be referring to a few handouts and things like that. We'll try to get those in the chat to you. If not during the presentation, I'll do it right at the end and get you everything that you need. So with that, Jordan, I'll hand it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Mindful Eating. I'm really excited about this topic, and I really think that it'll be beneficial for a lot of us. To start with, though, let's just make sure that we're all on the same page and using the same definitions in regards to mindful eating. So mindful eating comes from the practice of mindfulness, and mindfulness, although it may be new to some of us, is actually a very ancient practice. This is just the practice of being present in the moment. Mindful eating, however, relies on our awareness of what we put into our body, how much, and when. Mariah, you can hit the next slide. So a quick definition of mindful eating is just defined as being fully attentive to your food as you buy, prepare, serve, and consume it. Instead of focusing on our calories and macros like carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, which is a super normal thing to do, we actually get to pay attention to our experience of food and how it affects us. So in these next 20-ish minutes, I'm going to go over how emotional eating happens, some triggers, the benefits of mindful eating, and then we'll wrap up with some tips so that you can get started being more mindful in your own lives. So decisions that we make about food are often affected by how we feel physically and emotionally. For example, if you've not eaten enough throughout the day, or if you have a night event that you've saved calories for, it's super normal to come in and be ravenous for your food. So all rationale leaves the window, and we start thinking of anything we can eat, that's what we're going to eat. Any amount we can eat, that's what we're going to eat. And so this can really play a part in our health, and can lead to overeating. So when you're this hungry, choosing options that are healthy and beneficial to our health become difficult because we're not focused on quality, we're more focused on the quantity of food that we're getting. On the other hand, emotions also play a role in our hunger cues and the foods that we choose to eat. So, for example, you all probably have experienced this during stressful times at work or in the world or in our own personal lives. It's easy to reach for those foods that provide some comfort. And these are often comfort foods like warm pastas or heavy sweets that we tend to reach for. And these can be different for anyone, but even though these foods provide some emotional relief, they actually don't end up targeting the root of the problem, and can actually create unhealthy relationships with food. So the whole goal behind mindful eating is just to become more aware of the experience of eating, of fueling your body. Next slide. So there are a lot of misconceptions that people have, more than what we're going to talk about today, but I just wanted to hit a few. So the first misconception that we're going to talk about is mindful eating is easy. Mindful eating is not easy. Mindful eating requires the full attention of the person, and this is something that is fleeting today in our fast-paced society, or with lots of workload, or kids running around. It's hard to keep your attention at a mealtime, and we often become distracted, or we try to multitask while we eat. So No, mindful eating is not easy. It is a learned practice. The second misconception is mindful eating is just another diet. Unlike other diets, mindful eating is actually not the practice of what you're eating, it's more of how you're eating, how much, and when. So this way of eating is open to any dietary choice that you already have, or if you just choose whatever foods that you enjoy eating. So we want to choose the foods that you want to eat and pay attention to the tastes, the textures, and the aromas. And just a quick plug, we will be sending out a handout, and this has a little, script for practicing mindful eating, and it goes through paying attention to those tastes, textures, and aromas. And then our third mindful eating misconception is that mindful eating means that we are only eating healthy foods. This is not always true. Sometimes mindful eating means listening to your cravings and being aware of when it is that you're satisfied, when that craving has been met. So it's the idea that food is not good or bad, it's just how we eat it. Next slide. Okay, some benefits of mindful eating. And again, there are more than are listed today, but just a few are reduced overeating and binge episodes because we're focusing on our cravings and becoming satisfied. Another benefit is increased ability to control our eating based on our hunger and fullness cues. So we're actually getting the practice of becoming hungry and becoming full and paying attention to those cues and obeying those cues. Another benefit is healthier food choices because we aren't focusing on restricting or only eating a certain amount of food or certain types of foods. We are actually going to focus more on the benefits of all foods. So in turn, this actually leads to healthier food choices for a long period of time, which other diets fail to do as you can only keep up with them for just a short period of time. And then finally, we are experiencing increased satisfaction when we eat, just because we're taking time to really focus on being aware of the experience that food is bringing. Next slide. Okay, so now that we've gone over the benefits and the misconceptions of mindful eating, let's talk about some tips to help implement it into your own life. So tip number one is to slow down. When we eat super fast, we don't give our bodies enough time to digest and signal to our brains that we can stop eating. Slowing down actually helps us become more aware of when to stop eating as we feel full. So you can practice this by setting a timer. For example, you can set a timer on your phone for 20 minutes so that your period of eating extends that whole time. Then when you get more comfortable with that, you can practice adding 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes. It's totally up to you. Another tip is to set your utensil down between bites. So alternating with taking a bite and then setting your utensil down makes a drastic change in how quickly you're able to eat your food. Oftentimes when we just continue to hold our utensil and feed ourselves, we don't swallow before we take the next bite, which can lead to impaired digestion and overeating. And then finally, sitting down to eat instead of standing is a great way to implement a calm, relaxed environment and to make sure that you're not focusing on just going to the next thing. It's super common to stand while you eat, and if you sit down, you're able to relax and invite people to join you in the process. Tip 2 is get to know your hunger. So we're focusing on knowing our hunger skills, knowing your hunger signals. Sometimes the way that we feel emotionally, like we've discussed, can make us believe that we're hungry when we actually could be stressed or bored or anxious. But paying attention to those hunger cues instead of relying on things that are affecting your emotions can be super helpful. So emotional eating does not have internal signals as we're going to go through, like the ones we're going to go through. And these can be different for anyone. Some examples of hunger cues include the ones on the slide, like growling stomach or a headache, tiredness, a lack of energy, or feeling faint or irritable. And this can often come off as hunger if y'all are used to this way of description. Another simple way to know your hunger is by using a hunger scale. If you've ever seen a hunger scale, it's simply a scale of 1 from 1 to 10, where 1 identifies that you are feeling extreme hunger. So this is where you've gone all day without eating and anything will satisfy you. It doesn't matter what it is or how much. And then on the complete opposite end is a 10, where you are super full. And this is kind of how you feel at Christmas when you've stuffed yourself past your point of satisfaction and you just want to lay on the couch. So there is a sweet spot in that range of numbers, which is usually a 3 to a 6. And we really want to start eating when we're at a 3, which means you're hungry, you can eat a full meal, but you're not starving. You're still able to make those mindful decisions about the foods that you're choosing. And then we want to stop at about a 6, which a 6 is about is where we start feeling I'm satisfied, I am full, but I like the way I feel. I feel light, I feel satisfied. I don't feel like my stomach is hurting or that my pants feel uncomfortable. We're stopping at that sweet spot. So the whole idea is to not starve yourself and to not stuff yourself. And it is not common to know your hunger cues, but practice makes perfect. So I just encourage you guys to utilize this, and we'll be putting this also in the chat box so you can visually see those hunger levels. Tip number 3 is understanding the why behind your choices. So it can be difficult to desire the foods that are actually good for our bodies over the ones that give us comfort, the ones that are high in fat and sugar. But instead of restricting these foods, that is very normal for people to do, becoming more mindful of the benefits of all types of food, even the ones that aren't the best for us, provides great health benefits for our emotional health and our physical health. So when you're choosing foods, maybe ask the questions, how will this food benefit me? So take, for example, a piece of cake or an apple. Oftentimes we will choose the apple because we think that the cupcake or the slice of cake is bad for us. And this can lead to unhealthy relationships with food. So mindfulness includes all types of food. So instead of just focusing on the apple, we can actually say, sometimes the cupcake is more beneficial to us because it's what our friend brought us for our birthday, or it's what we're craving in the moment, and we want to satisfy those cravings just to a certain extent. So asking these questions will help you do just that. Our tip number 4 on the next slide is to be present. This is a fleeting art in today's society just because it is so fast-paced and technology is everywhere. Although the technology does great things like connect us to people that aren't close to us, or even has helped during the pandemic with allowing us to work from home, it's become a problem staying present because we're able to scroll or watch something all day, every single day on smartphones or TVs. But becoming more present is the key to becoming mindful and eating mindfully. A couple tips to help you become more present include putting away electronics. This is not easy, but it is totally doable. Even making your kitchen or your dining table an electronic free zone could be helpful for you and your family. Another thing is to put away work. Because some of us are working at home or we are bringing work home that we're not getting done, it can be easy to do the multitasking at the table or standing up at the counter. But becoming more present also can be helpful can be easier if we put away our work. And then finally, inviting friends and family to join you is a great idea. This can also help you slow down eating because you're focused on the other person and talking to them about how they've been doing, or really just getting in the mindset that it is all about the experience and not all about what you're eating. Our final tip today is to start before the store. Planning before we go to the grocery store allows us room to be more mindful of the things that we're buying and the things that we're putting in our carts. So try planning your meals before you head to the store. There are tons of resources to help you do that. Some include making a grocery list, meal planning for your week, making a menu for your household for the week. Does anyone here meal plan? I just want to hear some ideas of kind of what's working for you guys.
I don't, but I need to.
That's great. Any ideas?
I have to second Kim. I do good if I make a grocery list, and I will sometimes pseudo meal plan. I'll go, I think I want to cook this on this day, and then make a grocery list, but I'm not as good at it as I should be. If I can remember to take my grocery list to the grocery store, then that's a successful day.
Yeah, and I think sometimes those simple grocery lists that we're thinking in our head is the best place to start. It doesn't always have to be this structured meal thing that we come up with. It can sometimes just be, okay, this is what I'm desiring for the week. Another useful option is to ask your family members. Sometimes it's hard to think of those kinds of meals that we want to prepare throughout the week. So coming up with ideas to involve the whole family will not only help them become more excited to eat at the table, enjoy those foods, but it will also give you kind of a break and some other ideas that you can use at the store. Those are great, guys. I love that. So as we wrap up, I just want to hear a little bit more from you about the benefits of mindful eating. What positive changes do you think that you would see if you were to eat more mindfully? And you can type it in the chat or turn on your mic.
I think just a basic appreciation of the meal that you're eating. Like I didn't put my webcam on because I had a late lunch and it was a peanut. I didn't want y'all to see me eating my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Though it was all natural peanut butter and natural and a healthy wheat bread, but I thought they don't need to see me chowing down at this point in time. But so I was not practicing mindful eating as this webinar began. But I know when I do, things just taste better. I think maybe you feel more satisfied with things. But that's just me.
That's great. Anyone else?
I want to say something. I have found, not necessarily meal planning, but when I eat, if I pay attention to eating, I've gotten to where I chew my food up all the way. Therefore, I'm getting fuller faster. And I've actually, in the last 4 weeks, lost 17 pounds doing that.
Wow.
Yeah. Consciously, I started doing that, making sure I chewed it all up, because I found out I was just like half chewing my food and then swallowing it and continue to eat. So I did that for myself, and it's actually worked for me. So
Yeah, well, you've really seen the results of mindful eating. It is not easy either to just slow down and chew more, even though you would think it would be. So that's great. Yeah, there's some other ideas. Lots of encouragement. There are tons of positive changes that you will be able to see. And sometimes it's just mental, which is a great area of bettering our health. We can just become more grateful for what we are eating instead of always looking for the next thing, just by simply slowing down. So a common practice of dieting and restricting foods is actually not the best for our health overall. It can actually lead to some poor eating habits and even some weight gain later on after the diet has ended. So it's far better to learn how to eat mindfully and intuitively and rely on those hunger cues that we talked about, using that scale or just your own bodily reactions to know when you're naturally hungry and to know when you're satisfied. So I hope that after hearing the benefits and some tips of mindful eating, you feel more equipped and successful trying this on your own. I would encourage at least once a day to try to eat a meal more mindfully and experience what it feels like to become aware of the process of fueling your body. I mentioned this before, but each of you are going to be given a handout that will walk you through how to practice this and to implement it into your own routines. But I just want to thank you guys for having me and for being such a great audience and participants.
Jordan, you did a great job. I'm working to put everything in the chat. So Jordan just referred to a second handout, something that she created. So I've just posted that. Let me grab the other links. I'm also going to share a link to a session evaluation survey for today. That just takes like a minute to complete. So that's in the chat now. And then I've got one more thing. I'm going to share my screen so that if you all want to take a screenshot to get your points, you can do that. I'm also putting a link to a certificate of attendance in the chat. So let me get those loaded up and then I'm going to share my screen. Yes, so everything's there. The hunger scale handout is also in the chat as well. You might have to scroll back up just a little bit. It looks like I posted it at 2:06 p.m. So you can scroll back a tad and you'll find that. Let me share my screen here and okay, so this did this earlier today. It does not let me share my PowerPoint. So just give me one moment. Let me see if I can do that again. There we go. Thanks, y'all. You're very patient. All right. The awkward pause, it's coming. There we go. I think, yeah, okay. So for those of you that really just like the option of just taking a photo on your cell phone and loading that up to your app on My Health Check 360, you can go ahead and do that now, or a screenshot or a snip, whatever works for you to get your points. Like I mentioned, though, if it's easier to just download that PDF certificate of attendance that I put in the chat, that'll work just fine. Whatever works for you, we just want you to get your points. Please don't send it to me. Please put it directly on your account and you'll get your 5 points that way. Jordan, thank you again for this wonderful presentation. You're very gifted at public speaking. I really appreciate your talents and the information that you put together is always so helpful and to the point. And I think just you give us a lot of things to think about and good takeaways. So we appreciate you. All right, everyone. Yeah. We'll linger for just a few more moments if you have any questions, but we'll go ahead and adjourn so that you can get back to your work days. Thank you all for joining us today.